What's up everyone, China Cycling here, and as you can see, something a bit different here today. I've swapped the bike for the scooter, and this thing is fast. Now, I know what you're thinking, this is China Cycling, it's a cycling channel, but to be honest, I like anything else and anything with speed, and this thing definitely has both. This thing is fast. We've got an 800 watt motor that can peak at 1500 watts, and yeah, it gets up to speed quick. Obviously, because of various regulations, its top speed is limited. I think if you're in the EU, the top speed is 25 km an hour. If you're in the USA, the top speed is 30 km an hour. I have this in the USA mode at the minute, so 30 km an hour, which is what I'm cruising at very comfortably here. And obviously, because of that 800 watt motor, you can do 30 km an hour basically everywhere, like up a wall, super steep hills. Everything I've shown this thing at so far, it doesn't budge from 30 km an hour. It just sits at 30 km an hour all day long. Now this model is the ElitePrime from Yadea. If you've never heard of Yadea, well in China you have. Yadea basically make a bunch of the little e-bike commuter things that you see out here. A huge brand, like 60 million customers or something crazy. So for the frame we have an all aluminium construction which keeps it both sturdy and light. Maximum payload of this thing is 120 kilograms, which is like 2 of me. So plenty strong enough there. The whole thing as well is designed about waterproofing. I think they got IPX5 waterproofing on here, so should be fine to ride it in a light shower or through some puddles or whatever. It's not gonna explode on you. Super windy out here today, I hope you can hear me. So let's talk about performance, because to be honest, that's what got my attention when Yadea reached out to me and asked if I wanted to review this thing. 800 watt motor can do 800 watts all day, or I think it peaks at 1,500 watts, you know, well over 1,000 watts, and you can tell in the acceleration. So you have 4 different modes for the scooter. There's kind of like a walking speed mode, a D mode, which is a bit faster, S mode, and then X mode. They're all speed limited in accordance with laws. So I think in America you're limited to 18 miles an hour or 30 km an hour. In Europe you're limited to 16 miles an hour or like 25 kilometers an hour. But the difference between the different settings is how quickly it gets that speed. And in this mode, X mode, it rips. As I said before, the first time I got it in X mode and it slammed the throttle, the thing did a wheelie. So definitely get used to it in S mode before you go into X mode. But again, if you're used to X mode and you lean forwards when you hit the throttle, yeah, no worries, it just takes off. Also talking about performance, because the battery is all at the bottom of the board, center of gravity is super low, which makes it super stable for carving or whatever. Obviously speed limit to 30 km an hour, but you can literally rail any corner at 30 km an hour, as seen like this. Boom. And of course, when you've got all that speed, it's reassuring to know you've got brakes that can slow it down. So use my turn signals. Again, the acceleration never gets old. Where was I? Oh yeah, brakes. So check this out. Yeah, it stops. So again, riding along at 30 and brakes. Like I say, drum brake on the front, disc brake on the rear, and they both do a very good job. Again, one more brake test, 3, 2, 1. Very good. The next cool thing we got about this is the smart app. Now, in my opinion, anytime you have a smart gadget, the app is kind of like the make or break thing. If the gadget is great, but the app sucks, it's a horrible experience. I'm pleased to say the app on this one is great. So you can do all your usual stuff, connect to the scooter, check its battery level, and change some of the settings, etc. Some of the cool settings in there, you can set the cruise control. I don't think you're allowed to use the cruise control in Europe, but in America it's no problem. But yeah, the cruise control basically means you hold down the shifter for a few seconds, it beeps, and then you can just let go of the shifter, and it'll just keep riding as if you're holding down the shifter. In the smart app, you can also keep a track of how far you've ridden on it. I recently upgraded the firmware on this one, which reset the stats, but still you can see how many kilometers I've done in the last week or so. Also in the smart app, we can control the Bluetooth lock-in function. So again, you pair the app and your phone to the scooter, and then you can set it to auto lock when you're in a certain range. So when you walk away from the scooter, it locks and can't be ridden away. And when you're next to the scooter or on the scooter, it'll unlock and then you can ride it as you want. And just in general, the UI of the app and the whole user experience is really seamless. Yeah, like I say, apps can be make and break, but I think this one is more make and less break. You've got this nice multi-functional LED display on the bar. You glance down, you can see everything you need to know. I can see my phone's connected to the Bluetooth. I can see what speed mode I'm in. I can see my current speed, and I can see the amount of battery I have left, all on this multifunction display. When you're charging it or when you turn the lights on and off, it's all on there, so you can see all the information you need. Speaking of lights, on the back we've got an always on kind of like tail light, and then we have turn signals on the back as well. So I have a little switch down here. I press this switch for turning right, turn signal light on the back starts blinking, and then when I get around the corner, this little turn signal is going to stop. Boom. Then on the front we have an LED light which is super bright. It's got a very nice clean beam pattern as well. So if you're going to be riding this at night or commuting at night, you can see what's on the road and people can see you. Another super impressive thing with the performance is the hill climbing. Obviously, because it's just got so much power and so much torque, and the actual thing doesn't weigh much, you can climb up vertical walls basically. I think the official rating is it can climb a 30% climb. I've not found a 30% climb to test it on, but I rode it up a 15% climb, and yeah, it was fine. And it was a bit scary because just how fast it can go up a 15% climb. But obviously, if you're not in X mode, you keep it in sport mode or something, it's not so scary. But always wear your helmet, safety first, all that jazz. Obviously, you guys are all bike geeks, so you won't mind me geeking out about the wheels and stuff. The wheels, we've got some 10-inch wheels, which doesn't sound very big, but then we've got 2.7-inch tubeless tires on there. That gives you plenty of grip, and the small tire size is what gives you that crazy strung acceleration. Now, with 10-inch wheels, you might be worried about potholes and stuff. I'm gonna hit a manhole cover on purpose here. Boom, no problem. Basically, the reason for that is the suspension. The suspension on this thing is really, really good. Hard to get across on the camera because if I bounce around on this thing, the stabilization on the camera is going to counteract that. But yeah, basically small wheels, but you don't have to be scared because the suspension is so good. Let me hit another manhole cover, boom. All day long, no problem. The front and rear suspension both work slightly differently, but they're very well tuned to have the very similar spring ratios. And yeah, like I say, one of my major concerns when seeing this thing was small wheels hitting bumps at 30 k's an hour. But as you can see, I'm going to whack another big manhole cover now. Boom, it just eats them all up. So yeah, good job on the suspension. For the e-bike techie people, the battery, we've got a 48-volt battery, which is 14.5 amp hours. So that battery gives us that 45-mile range or 60-kilometer range. And I can attest it can do that range no problem. Obviously, I'm not the heaviest guy in the world, but I have this on X mode all the time, really caning it. I don't cruise slowly. And yeah, the range, no problem. I think one of the reasons for the good range is because it's got regenerative braking. So kind of like a Tesla, I guess, when you take your foot off the gas, it actually uses regen braking to slow down. And that regen power goes back into the battery. That's another thing that you can actually tune in the app, the amount of regen braking you get. At the moment, I'm going to set on a fairly high setting because, I don't know, that's my style. When I drive an EV or whatever, I'm used to like 1 foot driving and taking your foot off the gas to slow it down. So yeah, high regen braking, I think is one reason why you get such good range. The regen braking means also when you're going down a hill, if you take your foot off the throttle, or take your finger off the throttle, I should say, you're going to be charging the battery all the way down the hill. One thing I forgot to mention on the brakes, so the rear brake, as I said, is a disc brake. It's actually cable actuated disc brake, but both of the pistons move on the caliper. And like I say, the feeling is fine. And both of the brakes actually have electronic brakes, which means now I'm holding down the throttle now, but if I touch the brake, it cuts off the throttle. So electronic cutoff on the brake levers or whatever it's called. Oh, and there's a bell. As for ergonomics, I'm 1.68 meters. Like I say, I weigh like 55 kilos. This handlebar is like 58 centimeters wide, and to me, this feels comfortable. If I had to say anything, I'd say the handlebar feels a little high for me, but like I say, I'm a short ass, just 1.68. If you're not a short ass, I'm sure you'll be fine. The size of the deck is also fine for my 2 feet. I'll put the size in the video to let you know, but yeah, I think even guys with big feet will find a way to stand on here comfortably, no problem. 喂，你好的，你可以放在菜鸟一件吗？谢谢啊。So, what do I think of the Yadea ElitePrime or e-transport in general? I definitely think e-transport or e-personal transport, e-bikes, etc. is the future. It's where everyone's going, you know. Electricity production is getting greener and greener, so it just makes sense to switch to these electronic forms of transport. And personally, I like things like this. It's a bit sporty, but also useful, right? So for just zipping around my little business park here or whatever, I need to go buy something, I need to go pick up a package. This is my new method of choice. Of course, you might be saying, oh, what about a bike, etc. Yeah, of course, I still love bikes, but this is just a different tool in your arsenal. Now, let me try crop it down to the pros and cons, or what I like or what I don't like about the ElitePrime. First of all, performance and handling are definitely what I like. It accelerates quickly, it turns on a dime, super responsive handling, brakes, no problem, can lock them up easily. Uh-oh, I'm actually rolling past a police station. Whoopsie! Yeah, so I love the performance. Ergonomics are good. Like I say, handles, corners, great, very nippy. One thing I would say, it's pretty big and pretty heavy. Like, it was bigger and heavier than I thought before I got it. But obviously, as they tout it as like the SUV of scooters, like that's to be expected, right? Like, you need to be big and heavy to get the big battery on there, and also to be able to take off all of the bad roads in its stride like it can. If I'm nitpicking, one other thing I would say is that locking it seems to be a bit of a difficulty. So I don't know how you'd lock this thing, because there's no kind of thing that you could loop a chain lock through or whatever. Like, you can't go through the wheel spokes because they're solid wheels. And like a bicycle frame, you have a triangle to put a lock through. I've not found a good way to lock this yet. Now, obviously you can lock it with the app. And it, like I say, it's pretty heavy, so I don't think as long as it's going to pick it up and just walk off with it. But yeah, one thing, leaving it outside unattended for long periods of time, I may be on the fence about. But if you're using it to commute from home to the office and it can sit inside your office or sit somewhere you can see it, yeah, I don't think it's a problem. Charging it's fine, you know, you just plug it in, it charges the thing. Not the quickest thing to charge in the world, but you know, if you take it to the office and you're working the day, it's definitely going to be fully charged by the time you finish work. Or if you charge it overnight at home, again, it's definitely going to be fully charged by the time you wake up. Pricing wise, this is coming in at just $999 US, which if you compare it to the price of a bicycle, you can't get much bike for $999 these days. For that, you're getting the scooter, huge batteries, a motor that can accelerate super fast. Yeah, if you compare the price to the price of a bike, it's pretty shameful. So yeah, you guys tell me what you think in the comments down below. If you're in the market for an e-scooter, definitely check out the Yadea ElitePrime. I don't know, what do you guys think? Would you rather have an e-scooter or rather have an e-bike? Let me know in the comments down below. Okay, China Cycling out.